everyone. Thank you for joining me here. So I want to go through a very quick, a quick micro seminar on the best way to go about, implementing software, enterprise-wide software. So in the previous video, which you can find in the link, I spent time talking about the reasons why, the 10 reasons why digital transformation projects fail, and you could extend those reasons to any technology project. They are always the same reasons, the same 10 reasons. And so the next question, to piggyback off of that seminar, the next question to answer is, how do you successfully run technology projects? What does success look like? So today we're going to be talking about methodologies. So there are so many methodologies out there, and pretty much a methodology is how do you realize something. So if the objective is to go from point A to point B, the question is how. The how becomes your method. Now, so many companies have different methods, and the methods are really varied in terms of depth, in terms of breadth, in terms of scope. And so it leaves a lot of confusion, especially for small and mid-sized companies, as to the best methodology to use. Now, I'm not very dogmatic when it comes to methodologies. There should be room for flexibility and agility. However, when there's chaos is usually solved through order. So an antidote for chaos is order. And if we go by that premise, it means that we can assume that your current technology and business environment could be likened to a chaotic situation where your systems are not really connected. Collaboration is not at optimal. Your processes are not really optimized. Your products are not innovative. You're not collecting feedback from customers and feeding that feedback into your systems. And so there's a lot of chaos going on, a lot of silos, and your goal is to move from a chaotic point A to a very orderly point B, where there is order. There is a free flow of information from one point to the other, where there's a lot of collaboration and there's a lot of circular work, and there's also a lot of scale. So you can go from here to something even bigger, which mimics the previous, and that's what order would look like. Now the question is, okay, how do you go from here to here? What is the best way? And so today I want to talk about UDEL, the UDEL methodology. So a little background about UDEL. UDEL is an idea I conceived when I was doing my doctoral research. And I studied a lot of, methodologies and looked for the best way, to implement systems. And I combed through hundreds of different methodologies, from the big consulting firms to the independent firms to the small guys to the universities to the military, and it gave me sort of a very broad look into how companies actually implement systems. And so the question I had was, a lot of these methodologies were based on a waterfall style of implementing projects, which means you go in sequence. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and so on. So a lot of the methodologies out there are very sequential, you see. But then, on the other hand, you have a lot of agile talk. You have a lot of agile practices where things need to, iterate. You have a lot of iteration when it comes to agile. You have a lot of change, you have a lot of feedback coming in. And it's true that I'm not the first person to do this. A lot of people way more smarter than me, way more accomplished, have already looked into this question and tried to find the perfect balance, the balance where you have structure or waterfall and you have agile. So what is that balance? And that's what gave birth to the methodology we now call UDEL. So what is UDEL? UDEL is this, and there's a 360. So UDEL stands for understand. Understand, design or develop, experiment, and launch, and you repeat. 360. So that's UDEL. It's a unified digital framework. It's a unified digital experience life cycle. And so what do we have in this life cycle? Every project needs to begin with a realization of a problem. And usually projects begin like that. There's usually either a problem, an idea, or an opportunity. Now, when the company makes that decision to move forward with a solution, that decision is usually based on so many factors. What we recommend is that you first of all do a readiness check. So you've identified an opportunity, you've identified an initiative, you've identified a problem, and you want to move forward with a solution. So any of those three things could give rise to a solution: an opportunity, an idea, or a problem. So any of these three gives rise to a solution. Now, before you move forward with a solution, you need to ask yourself, are we ready? So there's a question of readiness. You do a readiness check. Are we ready? Now, once you've ascertained that you're ready as an organization to move forward with change, because getting to a solution entails change. So when you're ready psychologically, you have the resources to change, you've put every mechanism in place to organize change, so you're ready, then you begin the process of understanding what you currently do. Now, understanding primarily has to do with documenting your requirements. So you would go into your different departments, you would go into your different processes, and really go into the details. Document those processes, map it out. Try to understand what is it that we currently do, what are the gaps, where do we have inefficiencies, and just document it from a holistic perspective. So you're understanding the current state, what you're doing right now. That's what you're trying to understand. So the understanding here has to do with the current. Once you've done that, and you're sure that you understand exactly what you're trying to achieve, then you move to a design of what your ideal future would look like. So you're designing the future state. Now, what's contained in the future? Your design would have things like your software. So if you've identified gaps in your customer service team, maybe one solution could be to implement a CRM system. So that will go into your future design, implementing a CRM system. It could be that maybe your warehouse people need more training. That goes into your future design. It could be that you want to work with a software consultant. That goes again into your future design. So you need to be able to understand your current, design the future. And once you've selected your software at this stage, you've selected your implementation partner at this stage, and you've validated your business needs into requirements. Now you know exactly what you need, and those needs are the ones that fuel your decision of a software or of a process change or of a training need. So you don't just choose a software. The software is selected because it responds or satisfies a certain need. So once that happens, then you're going to have the solution prepped at this stage still. So prepping the solution would mean you configuring the system. That's where the consultants would, change the code, the source code, to add some customizations or change, like if you're going with a no code approach, just change the basic configuration of the tool and all of that. So that's where you get involved in designing and developing your ideal future. So once that happens, you're ready to experiment. Experimenting is all about testing your solution. So you test your solution in real time with scenarios and use cases. So you take actual use cases from your current environment and you try it out with a new solution and see how it goes. You collect that feedback and it helps you to improve your solution. And once you've validated your solution, you need to be sure that you have an MVS. That's a must-have. At this stage, an MVS will represent the minimum viable solution, because you have to realize that there's no way you can ever get to a point where your solution is 100% ready. It would usually be 80%, 85, maybe a little bit more, but it can never be 100%. So at what point do you decide that we are ready to go live, for example? We're ready to launch. We're ready for everybody else to use the system. That should be your MVS, your minimal viable solution. And your MVS is that set of features, that point you get to with a solution where it's not perfect, but it's way better than your previous environment and it gives you leverage. So once you have your MVS at your testing stage, then you're ready to launch. So launching means you bring in everyday users, those who would actually use the tool. They need to be trained, they need to get training. Here you start thinking about how the system would be supported beyond the project and all of that. So this is a high-level overview of the UDL 360. Once you launch the system here, there's going to be feedback that you collect from the users. Just as you collected feedback from the test, you're going to collect feedback from the launch phase. And the feedback would help you to make continuous improvements or to scale. And so that feedback loop is what we call the 360. And that's what completes this unified digital experience lifecycle. Now, it looks like waterfall, but in truth, it is a blend between waterfall and agile. Let me show you how. Here, at the current state analysis, it's very difficult to go with a full-blown agile approach. So mostly you would have waterfall here and with traces of agile. But where you would have full-blown agile is when your solution is being developed. For example, if you've selected a software, an ERP like Microsoft Dynamics or any other software, your consultants will be working on the software and they could work in an agile environment. So this is where you have the possibility to go agile during your development or design of your future. As well as your test, you can also go agile here at this stage when you're doing testing, because there's a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of iterations and improvements, feedback coming in, just like your backlog you would have on a typical agile project. And then your landing, imagine an airplane has to descend. Your landing, I don't really see agile fitting so much into your landing pad. So landing the plane will need something structured. You don't need a lot of chaos. So you need a plan and it has to be very structured. with room for improvement. And so here you go back to some sort of waterfall with traces of agile depending on the situation. And of course, the whole feedback loop dives straight into agile. And so I'll wrap it up here for this very short seminar on the best way to successfully implement any enterprise system. And